Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, I was invited here to give a small 5 to 7 minute speech. And when the idea was proposed to me, I didn't know what I was going to say at first. Because today is a very auspicious occasion. And there's a lot of things you can say about the character of Imam Ali, about the life of Imam Ali, about the type of person he was. And it's hard to just take it down and put it into 5 to 7 minutes. Until I was thinking about his life and his qualities, and I realized there's one thing in his life that you see very clearly. It's that whatever he does, there is balance in everything that he does. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that you see Imam Ali was fearless. He had no fear, whether it was entering a battlefield, whether it was in the decisions he made, but at the same time, he was wise. He knew when there was a time to be fearless and when there was a time to be cautious. Imam Ali was very generous. He didn't own much in his life. It is said that he owned one pair of clothes and his sword, and that was all he owned in his life. But at the same time, he was very generous, but he was also very humble. He was also very great. I mean, we're talking about the caliph. We're talking about the person that led the Muslims at the height of their greatness. When the Muslim empire stretched from Arabia to Iran, it stretched across Asia. But at the same time, he was extremely humble. If he met somebody on the street while he was traveling, and this person did not immediately recognize him as the caliph, he wouldn't boast about how he was the caliph and how he was great. He wouldn't puff up his own chest and walk with his head held high. No. He'd sit there like the average man. He'd interact with them like the average man. Now, what is my point in all of this? What is my point in talking about how great he was, but at the same time how humble he was? How fearless he was, but at the same time how wise he was? It is because we, as the Shia of Ali, as his followers, we must emulate that. We must emulate that balance in our lives. Because everything we do in life must have a balance. You must not overdo anything in life. So just like we saw, Ali ibn Abi Talib was courageous. We follow him in his courage. But at that same time, we have to know when courage becomes cockiness. When you're a little bit too courageous and now you're being cocky. You need to pull back. Or when generosity becomes a little bit too much. Now it's not generous, now you're showboating. Now you're showing off in front of your friends, in front of your family, because you want to tell everybody how generous you are. So everything needs to be done in moderation. And when you look at the life of Imam Ali, his life was the epitome of moderation. Now, when you think of moderation, a certain story comes to mind. The story that is remembered in the Quran, that when Imam Ali fasted for 3 whole days. But it came in moderation. Why? Because this fast was for a good purpose. Now, Imam Ali could have kept the food for himself, but he had the balance in his life where he was able to sustain himself for 3 days without the food. So the point to all this is, remember to always have moderation in your life. To follow that moderation, if you follow that moderation, that is the key to success in life. You will end up succeeding in life following that moderation. And with that, I'd like to follow a poem that was written 6 to 7 years ago by my older brother, Sayyid Hadi Al-Qazwini. Why do you love Ali? More than once I've been asked. Now tell me who he is. More than once I've been tasked. To answer this query is not simple, you see. If the trees were all pens, tells us God's appointee, and the jinns were accountants, and the oceans ink, and they all work together perfectly in sync, they still would fail to calculate Haydar's great traits, for this is Ali, simply the greatest of greats. Let's begin by asking what the Kaaba will say when asked about his birthmark on its wall today. Ask Muhammad's bed, who occupied you that night. It will call out for Ali, the bravest in sight. Let's ask Jibra'il when he brought down the sword, while La Fata illa Ali, the heavens roared. Or let's ask Khaybar's gate, who ripped you out of place? It will point to none other than Haydar's face. Let's ask Mount Uhud, who ran away and who stayed? It will yell, Al-Karrar came to the Prophet's aid. Let's ask the city of knowledge, who holds its key? Tirmidhi will point to Ali, I guarantee. Or ask the needy beggar with the ring endowed. He will say, I took it in prayer as Ali bowed. Then ask the poor orphan to be a declarant. He'll cry, Ali was my source of love and a parent. Ask the ant that Ali swore he'd never oppress, even if he was given the world to possess. Let's ask Dua al-Sabah and Dua Kumail about their beauty, and Ali's name they will unveil. Ask the second Shaykh, what does Lola Ali mean? He'll admit his need for Ali to intervene. What's sufficient for us is what the Prophet dictates, where Ali and the truth the messenger equates. Thus please don't ask me why I love him so greatly. Such a noble man captures my heart innately. My master Ali, your name makes my heart flutter. An overwhelming peace when your name I utter. In all your greatness, you are still the most humble, with orphans so soft, but in battles you'd rumble. Eloquence is ashamed when it competes with you. In all of your dealings, justice you would pursue. We call you the Lion of God, a sage, kind and brave. But when asked who you were, you would say Muhammad's slave. O dust upon which Ali walked, I envy you. O air upon which Haydar inhaled, I envy you too. Salman, Miqdad, Abu Dhar, how lucky you were, every day to serve Ali and with him confer. On this night in Dhul Hijjah, I have one wish only. Please, Ali, in my grave, do not leave me lonely. On this night in Dhul Hijjah, I have one wish only. Please, Ali, in my grave, do not leave me lonely. With Allah's will, I plead for your intercession. To you, I dedicate my life and profession. With Allah's will, I plead for your intercession. To you, I dedicate my life and profession. Thank you. Up next, I'd like to invite the keynote speaker, Samahat Sayyid Hossein Al-Qazwini. Sayyid Hossein Al-Qazwini is a teacher in the Islamic Seminary in Karbala. He teaches both ethics and Islam. And inshallah, he will be the keynote speaker for tonight. So please invite him over with Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيبي إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: اليوم يئس الذين كفروا من دينكم فلا تخشوهم واخشوني اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. 2 years ago, exactly on a night like this, I was at your service due to the request of my honorable older brother, Samahat Sayyid Al-Qazwini. We discussed a topic regarding Eid Al-Ghadeer, regarding this very important incident. And that is that the verse that I just recited in Surah Al-Ma'idah, that today the non-believers have given up on your religion. Meaning, all the doors for conspiracy have been shut. There is no way for them to come and ruin your faith and religion. Today I have perfected your religion. Today I have completed my blessing upon you, and I have accepted Islam to be your religion. If you remember, we discussed where was this verse revealed? On what occasion? According to some scholars of tafsir from the Sunni school of thought, they say this was revealed in Arafah or in Mina during Hajj. We said this is not possible. What happened in Arafah or in Mina that requires such sort of language in Surah Al-Ma'idah? It couldn't have been in Arafah nor in Mina. It must have been in a different occasion, in a different setting, at a different event, and that was at Ghadeer. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, I would like to discuss a question that has dwelled in my mind, in your mind, in the minds of our children, our grandchildren, and in the minds of many people. And the question is the following. We believe that the Wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen is something that we have to accept, something ordained by Allah Azza wa Jal. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, was selected, not elected. He was selected by Allah Azza wa Jal through His Prophet. He was not elected. He was chosen by Allah. This was Allah's will, for reasons He knows, for qualities and merits in Ali ibn Abi Talib, not found in anyone else. His wilayah is mandatory upon us to accept His wilayah. We believe that His wilayah is the condition to the acceptance of our a'mal and our deeds, our fasting, our salah, our deeds. A condition to the acceptance of our deeds is the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Question. If the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib is part of usul al-Din, if it's part of usul al-Din, meaning it is something that we have to accept, why is it that the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib or the rest of the Imams is not mentioned in the Holy Quran? Why? Have you asked this question before or no? This is a question that many of us have thought of. We've been asked. Our children maybe have asked us. Our relatives have asked us. Our cousins have asked us. And there are some who are not followers of Ahlul Bayt. They might ask us this question. That if the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib has been ordained by Allah and appointed by Allah, why is it that the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran? Pinpoint us to the Quran. Show us the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib. 25 prophets are mentioned in the Quran. There are mountains mentioned in the Quran. There are rivers mentioned in the Quran. There are animals mentioned in the Quran. We have an entire chapter called Surah Al-Baqarah, إن الله يأمركم أن تذبحوا بقرة. A cow is mentioned in the Quran. A bird is mentioned in the Quran. ما لي لا أرى الهدهد. Elephants are mentioned in the Quran. ألم ترى كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل. Birds again are mentioned in the Quran. فأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل. Spiders are mentioned in the Quran. وَأَنَّ أَوْهَنَ الْبُيُوتِ لَبَيْتُ الْعَنْكَبُوتِ. If animals are mentioned in the Quran, and mountains are mentioned in the Quran, and rivers are mentioned in the Quran, so many individuals, good and bad. Fir'aun is mentioned, Qarun is mentioned. Good and bad. Why is it that Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran? If his wilayah is ordained by Allah Azza wa Jal, and it's part of usul ad-din, and it's so important to have, to the point that the condition to the acceptance of our a'mal is the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why is it not mentioned in the Quran? Why aren't his children also mentioned in the Quran? Al-Hasan, wal-Hussein, wal-Zayn al-Abidin, wal-Baqir, wal-Sadiq, and the rest of the Imams. Why? Tonight, my dear friends, in the moments that I have with you, inshallah, we will attempt to answer this question. There are several theories. There are several answers we will put forth with analysis of each answer to see if this answer is acceptable or not. We will mention some answers by various scholars, contemporary scholars today in Najaf and others, one from Najaf and one from Bahrain. I will summarize to you their thesis of how they've answered this question. Of course, we don't have to accept everything that they say. The theories that I deem questionable, I will mention, and at the end we'll mention a conclusion as to what is the best answer to this question. Please open your minds and hearts. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The first theory says that this is not a big deal. If Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran and his wilayah is not mentioned in the Quran, there are many important things not mentioned in the Quran. Many important things that are not explicitly mentioned in the Quran. For example, do we believe in free will or predestination? We, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, we believe that it's not completely free will, nor is it completely predestination. As Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, وَلَكِنْ أَمْرَ بَيْنَ أَمْرَيْن. وَلَكِنْ أَمْرٌ أو خبر لكن على كل. It is somewhere in between. It is somewhere in between. Why is this not mentioned in the Holy Quran? Why is this theory not mentioned in the Holy Quran? The details of praying and fasting, is it mentioned in the Quran? Is there anything more important than salah? Where does it say in the Quran that salah is 2 units, and Salatul Dhuhr is 4, and Salatul Asr is 4, and Salatul Maghrib is 3, and Salatul Isha is 4? Where does it mention that in the Quran? The details of fasting, it hasn't been mentioned in the Quran. There are several important issues that we accept, that we believe in, but they have not been mentioned in the Quran. Does this mean that we should reject them? Of course not. In a hadith in Al-Kafi, the narrator asks Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, سألت أبا عبد الله عن قول الله عز وجل أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. Obey Allah, this is clear. Obey His Messenger, this is also clear. وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. Obey those who have authority. Who is the verse speaking about? Imam Sadiq says, نزلت في علي ibn Abi Talib والحسن والحسين. This verse is talking about Ali ibn Abi Talib, Al-Hasan wal-Hussein. فقلت إن الناس يقولون فما له لم يسمي عليا وأهل بيته في كتاب الله. If this is talking about Ali and Hassan and Hussein, then why aren't they not mentioned in the Quran? Why aren't they mentioned by name in the Quran? The Imam says, قُولُوا لَهُمْ, tell them. If they ask you, why aren't they mentioned in the Quran? قُولُوا لَهُمْ, tell them, أن رسول الله نزلت عليه الصلاة ولم يسمي الله لهم ثلاثا ولا أربعا حتى كان رسول الله هو الذي فسر ذلك لهم. Tell them, how many units do you pray? 3 units, 4 units? Where is this mentioned in the Quran? Where does it say that Salat al-Maghrib is 3 and Salat al-Isha is 4? Rasulullah taught you. Rasulullah is the one that taught you that number of units for Salah. The same goes for Imamah. And he keeps on going regarding Hajj and regarding fasting and regarding Zakat, that the details were not mentioned in the Quran. They were given to you by Rasulullah and you accepted and you believe in without question. The same goes for the names of Ahlul Bayt. This is one answer. This is one theory. A second theory says that this question poses a problem if the Quran did not address the concept of imamah altogether. Yes, you have the right to question. That where's imam in the Quran? Why isn't Imam Ali mentioned in the Quran? Why is it part of Usul al-Din when it was not mentioned in the Quran? But the Quran addresses the topic of imamah generally. The Quran emphasizes that imamah, khilafah, it is ordained by Allah Azza wa Jal. It is not self-appointed or appointed by the people or elected by the people. Ya Dawood, inna ja'alnak, Ya Dawood, inna ja'alnaka khalifa. We appointed you. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. I appoint a khalifa. This is mentioned in the Quran. The general topic of imamah is mentioned in the Quran. The details were left to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. We made them imams. Imamah and khilafah are always mentioned in the Quran by appointment, by Allah Azza wa Jal, not by election, but by selection, divine selection. The rest was left for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to mention the details of this selection and of this appointment. This is another theory. A third answer says that we should not brush off the Sunnah quickly. We have the Quran and we have the Sunnah. The Sunnah of the Prophet is not less important than the Quran of Allah Azza wa Jal. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi explained the Quran. You cannot take the Quran and abandon the Sunnah, nor can you take the Sunnah and abandon the Quran. If we don't find the names of Ahlul Bayt in the Quran, we will find them in the Sunnah. And the Sunnah is not less important. Why do we brush off Sunnah as if it doesn't matter? As if everything has to be mentioned in the Quran, otherwise it's illegitimate, or it's un-Islamic, or it's unacceptable. No, we have the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the Sunnah of Rasulullah, we will see the names of the infallibles, beginning with Ali ibn Abi Talib and ending with all of the Imams. They've been mentioned. Thus, there is no need for a verse. There's no need for a Quranic verse to mention the name of the Imams when they have been mentioned in the Sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, time and time again, declared the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in every position through the Sunnah. Here, I'd like to read you 3 narrations. These narrations are not from Al-Kafi or Al-Tahdhib or Malahdur al-Faqih or Al-Istibsar, Shi'i books. These narrations are from Sunni authenticated sources. I will give you the book, the name of the book, the number of the volume, and the number of the page. In a hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that the Imams after me are 12. And this is known as Hadith Al-Ithna Ashar. Ithna Ashara Amiran. The hadith is narrated by Jabir bin Samara. قال سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Of course, he doesn't say وآله. I'm reading it as it is. He doesn't mention the family. يقول يكون 12 أميرا. There will be 12 princes or leaders after me. فقال كلمة لم أسمعها. He said, Rasulullah said something that I didn't hear. فقال أبي, my father told me. فقال أبي إنه قال, if you didn't hear the Prophet, I'll tell you what he said. إنه قال كلهم من قريش. They are all from Quraysh. 12 12 أميرا, and they're all from Quraysh. This is in Sahih al-Bukhari, volume number 8, page 127. Go and see this. This is in the Sunnah. Which 12? Here, those who do not follow the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt, they find an obstacle. How? Because the first, they say, okay, the first is Abu Bakr. طيب. The second is Umar. The third is Uthman. The fourth is Ali ibn Abi Talib. The fifth is, here, they start slowing down. You know, when there's traffic, all of a sudden you have to stop. Fifth, Muawiyah, okay. Sixth, who's the sixth? Yazid ibn Muawiyah? Yazid is the sixth? Is that possible? It's impossible. Here they face a dilemma. How can Yazid be the sixth? And after him, the seventh and the eighth, because it keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. If you think Yazid is terrible, what do you think? Who do you think came after Yazid? They face a dilemma. The only logical explanation to the 12 is the explanation of the Ahl Bayt. Ali ibn Abi Talib, wal Hassan, wal Hossein, wa Ali ibn al-Hussein, wa Muhammad ibn Ali, wa Ja'far ibn Muhammad, wa Musa ibn Ja'far, wa Ali ibn Musa, wa Muhammad ibn Ali, wa Ali ibn Muhammad, wal Hassan ibn Ali, والحجة القائم المهدي أرواحنا له الفداء. This is one hadith. This is Sunnah. This is the Sunnah. This is in Sahih al-Bukhari. This is not in Al-Kafi to question Al-Kafi. Another hadith. This hadith is known as Hadith al-Manzila. The hadith of the position of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This hadith is in Musnad al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, his famous book Al-Musnad. Narrated by Asma bint Umays. Inna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, again, وآله is omitted. قال لعلي أنت مني بمنزلة هارون من موسى إلا أنه ليس بعدي نبي. You are to me like Aaron was to Musa, except there is no prophet after me. Musnad al-Imam Ahmad, volume number 6, page 369. What was Aaron to Musa alayhi salam? A comrade and a friend? He was a successor. When he went with 70 of Bani Israel لميقاتنا, to see Allah Azza wa Jal, figuratively, whom did he leave behind to watch over Bani Israel? Harun alayhi salam. Harun, the brother of Musa. Rasulullah tells him, you are to me like Aaron was to Musa. And the same hadith with a changing of the word is also mentioned in Al-Bukhari. Hadith Al-Manzila, you'll find it in Al-Bukhari, volume 4, page 208. Thus, if you don't find the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Quran, you will find it in the Sunnah. And the Sunnah that they accept, and the Sunnah that they verify, that they call Sahih. Not the Sunnah that we, the followers of Ahl Bayt Shia, we say, come and look in Al-Kafi. Their Sunnah, what they accept, you will find the names of Ahl Bayt. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A fourth answer says that if the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib was mentioned in the Quran, was given, you will find the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Quran. Where's the test? Where's the test? You know, when you have an exam And on the top of the exam, you have the answers. Is this an exam? Is this a real test? When the teacher has a note on the front that says answers are in the back. You flip the page and the answers are in the back. Where's the test? Where's the exam? The real exam, the real test to the faith is when the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran, yet you still believe in his wilayah. And you accept his wilayah. Because all the other signs lead to him, as we will see. That's the test. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do people think that they are left to say, we believe, and they are not tested? This is the test. This is the test. When his name is not mentioned in the Quran, you accept his wilayah, not blindly. Not blindly, not because your father was Shi'i and your mother was Shi'i, and the local mosque that you went to in Lebanon or Iran, the local scholar told you to believe in Ali ibn Abi Talib. But because all the signs lead you to Ali ibn Abi Talib. These are some of the answers. There are other answers. Another answer, a fifth answer, says that Allah Azza wa Jal purposely did not mention the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Quran and the rest of the Imams. Why? This is a theory. This is a theory. This is one of the important theories that are put forth. They say that if the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib and the rest of the Imams were mentioned in the Quran, their enemies would have purposely distorted the Quran. They would have taken their names out of the Quran. But Allah did not want the Quran to be tampered with. He did not want the Quran to be distorted for anyone to come and take out names or put in other names. Allah kept their names out of protection of the Quran. Let me give you an example. I'll give you an example, although it's not a good example, but in Arabic they say sometimes an example brings you closer to the idea, and sometimes it draws you further. There's some celebrities, they don't take pictures of their children, and they don't post pictures of their children on their social media accounts. Have you noticed this? You will not see photos of children of celebrities. Why? They're afraid of hasad, the evil eye. What are they afraid of? Someone might kidnap them. Someone might kidnap them. So out of protection, they don't post their pictures. This theory says that out of protection for the Quran, so that no one will come and tamper with the Quran, change some of its verses or chapters, Allah purposely left out the names of the Ahlul Bayt and also left out the names of their enemies as well. Because their enemies are also not mentioned in the Quran. While Fir'aun is mentioned, Qarun is mentioned, others are mentioned, but the enemies of Ahlul Bayt are not mentioned. Why? So that no one will come and tamper with the Quran. They will take out verses or put in verses. This is also a theory. Another answer says that if, and this makes sense, this theory makes sense, this answer makes sense, that if the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib was mentioned in the Quran, that you have to accept the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib, or the Imam, the Khalifa after Rasulullah is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Some crooks will come and mention or name their children or name themselves in that name. Someone will come and say, my name is Ali ibn Abi Talib. And that person will say, my name is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Or for example, the name of Imam Al-Hassan is mentioned in the Quran. Someone will come out and say, I am Al-Hassan ibn Ali. The Quran is referring to me. Is this possible or is this not possible? It's very much possible. There are crooks who will come and say, look, the Quran mentions these names, and this is me. Just like today, we have many movements, we have many individuals that claim to be whom? Imam al-Mahdi. They say, I'm al-Mahdi. And there's so many claims to this position that it creates chaos and it creates confusion. It sows confusion. There will be people that intentionally will name themselves after these names and say, if you want Ali ibn Abi Talib, my name is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Or my name is Al-Hasan ibn Ali, or my name is Al-Hussein ibn Ali. Or by accident, if we give people the benefit of the doubt, someone, by chance, by coincidence, his name is Ali ibn Abi Talib, people will say, this is the Imam. This is the Khalif. This is possible. It will create chaos. It will create confusion. So to end the confusion, the name was left out. And the general concept of imamah was introduced. There's another answer, but to mention this answer, let me give you an introduction. There is something that both Sunnis and Shi'as run away from, and that is the idea of tampering with the Quran. Shi'as say we don't believe in this. And indeed, we, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, we don't believe that the Quran has been tampered with. Our Sunni brothers and sisters, they also say that the Quran has not been tampered with. When you ask them, they say the Quran was not tampered with. However, they have ahadith that say the Quran was tampered with. It's in their books, in Bukhari, in Muslim, that the Quran was tampered with. For example, there's a narration narrated by Umar, that Umar had said Surah Al-Ahzab was larger than Surah Al-Baqarah. It was larger than Surah Al-Baqarah. But what reached us today, it's a third of the actual size. And there's a narration attributed to Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. He says that there's a verse in the Quran that existed but today it doesn't exist. And that verse is لو كان لابن آدم واديان من مال لابتغى واديا ثالثا. That if the son of Adam had two valleys of wealth, he would want a third valley. He said this was a verse in the Quran, but today it's not there. Of course, they reject these narrations. They say we have these narrations, but we don't accept them. We can tell them, this is an answer put forth. We can tell them that if you believe, if you have narrations that a third of the Quran is missing, then perhaps the names of the Ahlul Bayt were part of what? That third or that part that went missing. You claim that the Quran has been tampered with, or many of it is missing. Who told you that the names of Ahlul Bayt were not mentioned? Perhaps it was in that. Of course, this is not a real answer. Why? Because when you ask Sunnis today and you ask their scholars, they tell you the Quran has not been tampered with. The same as our school of thought. We also have some narrations that we reject that say the Quran has been tampered with, there are missing verses. Thus, both schools of thought, although both of them have narrations that say the Quran has been tampered with, yet the scholars of both schools of thought reject those narrations and say that the Quran has not been tampered with. The Quran that we have today is the same Quran that was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. There are answers that are questionable. To answer this question, that why is the name of Ahlul Bayt not mentioned in the Quran, Imam Ali and his progeny, there are questions that we deem questionable or unacceptable. One answer, as I just mentioned, that the Quran has been tampered with, and perhaps the verses that were tampered with, it contained the name of Ahlul Bayt. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. If you hear someone that says the Quran was tampered with, there are missing verses, do not accept. Why? If you take out one word from the Quran, it will change the entire meaning. The Quran is so eloquent. Look at the verses of the Quran. They are so eloquent. Take out one word and it will change the entire meaning. You can't add or subtract. The Quran is so eloquent. Those who understand the Quran and know Arabic eloquence, they will tell you that if you add one word or take out a word, it will change the entire meaning. So this theory is rejected. Another theory that we also deem to be unacceptable is that Allah Azza wa Jal did not mention the names of Ahlul Bayt out of protection for the Ahlul Bayt, so that they would not be assassinated, so that they would not be killed. Allah purposely did not mention their names out of protection for the Ahlul Bayt. This is questionable. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jal, who is all-knowing, He knew that the Ahlul Bayt will all be what? Assassinated and killed. And as the Imam says, مَا مِنَّا إِلَّا مَسْمُومٌ أَوْ مَقْتُولٌ. Each one of us is either poisoned or is killed. Allah already knew that they will be killed and assassinated. So this theory is unacceptable. Another theory says, and this is from a contemporary scholar today, he says, who told you? You are asking the wrong question. Who told you that the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran? He's been mentioned in the Quran in several verses. Where, for example, he'll recite this verse, وَإِنَّهُ فِي أُمِّ الْكِتَابِ لَدَيْنَا لَعَلِيٌّ حَكِيمٌ. He says, that's Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Another verse, this was in Surah Zukhruf, and another verse in Surah Al-Hajj. قال هذا صراط علي مستقيم. They say, no, this is Ali ibn Abi Talib. هذا صراط علي مستقيم. So he's been mentioned. In another verse in Surah Maryam, وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُم مِّن رَحْمَتِنَا وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُم لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ عَلِيًّا. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib. So you're asking the wrong question. Why are the names of Ahlul Bayt not mentioned in the Quran? Rather, you should be asking, where are they mentioned in the Quran? This theory is also very questionable. Why? Because it relies on a different qira'ah. The qira'at, the way we recite the Quran, there are 7 types. What do I mean? There are some words in the Quran, there's 2 ways to recite them. For example, in Surah Al-Hamd, Maliki Yawmiddin or Maliki Yawmiddin. The popular qira'ah is Maliki Yawmiddin. But there's one qira'ah that says Maliki. Of course, that's the unorthodox qira'ah. So to say that this is Ali ibn Abi Talib, هذا صراط علي, this is unorthodox. This is not the popular qira'ah. This is not the popular way to recite the Quran. هذا صراط علي مستقيم, not علي. So this does not conform to the orthodox qira'ah way of reciting the Quran. So this theory is also unacceptable. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. I conclude, after seeing these different answers and different theories, let me ask a question. Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran. Let's say Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran. Does it change anything? Does it change anything for you? Does it change anything for us? It doesn't change anything for us. Ali ibn Abi Talib does not need to be mentioned in the Quran. Because anyone with a slight understanding of Islamic history will know that no one was more capable of leading the ummah more than Ali ibn Abi Talib. He does not need to have his name mentioned. He does not. Let me give you an example. If you have a mosque, the imam of a mosque, every time the imam of the mosque is ill or is traveling or has an issue, there is someone that leads in his spot. If God forbid the imam of the mosque is departing this life, does he need to tell his community that this is the imam after me? Or is it logical? It's part of common sense that this will be the imam after him, especially if he has the merits, if he has the qualities. Anyone with a slight understanding of Islamic history will know that no one was more capable of leading the ummah other than Ali ibn Abi Talib. It is enough that the second Khalifa over 90 times said, لَوْلَا عَلِيٌّ لَهَلَكَ عُمَرٌ. If it wasn't for Ali ibn Abi Talib, Umar would have perished. Have you seen anyone other than Ali ibn Abi Talib that the Sahaba went to and asked questions? All of the Sahaba turned towards Ali ibn Abi Talib. Give me one instance, bring me a hadith even a weak hadith, even from an unreliable source that tells me this. Ali ibn Abi Talib asked one of the Sahaba. Ali ibn Abi Talib asked one of the Sahaba. Did Ali ibn Abi Talib ever ask any of the Sahaba the meaning of a verse or a fiqhi ruling or hukum? Never. You won't even find a weak narration in a weak source that says this. Thus, if the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran, this doesn't make any difference for us. Because all of the signs lead to Ali ibn Abi Talib. In every position, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made clear that there's only one man with the merits that can lead the community after him. It's Ali ibn Abi Talib. Those who say, show me the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Quran, they're ridiculous. It's like those biologists and chemists that see how the world works and see the mysteries of this universe and say, give me proof that God exists. You're blind. If you see all of this, if you see all of the mysteries of the universe, yet you ask, give me proof, where does God exist? You're blind. You have to be blind. You're missing the picture. You're missing. عميت عين لا تراك عليها رقيبة متى غبت حتى تكون الآثار هي دالة. Some say, let me show you proof that God exists. Who created these proof? Some say, look at the stars and the moons. That's proof of Allah. These stars are a proof of Allah. These stars have more appearance than Allah Azza wa Jal. This tiny star in the sky, you can see the star, but you can't see Allah Azza wa Jal. You can see the moon. The moon has to be proof for Allah's existence, but you can't see Allah. Someone who says, show me the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Quran is blind or deaf or hasn't heard anything regarding the history of Islam. If a person says, show me the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Quran, then surely has not heard of Badr, nor of Uhud, nor of Khaybar, nor of the conquest of Mecca, nor of the night that Rasulullah left Mecca and went to Medina. Who slept in the bed of Rasulullah? Did anyone else sleep? In all sources, no name other than Ali ibn Abi Talib is mentioned. You have to be blind. And surely those who tell you, show me the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Quran, even if you show them the name, they'll say no. He's mentioned as a friend, as a good person, but not as an imam. We have to ask Allah Azza wa Jal to open our hearts and open our eyes. There are people, they have 20/20 vision, but they're still blind. Believe me, they're still blind. And there's some people that can't see with these eyes, but can see with the eyes of their hearts. If you have the Wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib, that means Allah has opened the eyes of your heart. And there are those who seen the signs and reject the Wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib, they're blind. قال رب لما حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to open our eyes and our hearts and our ears to the truth. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal not to take this blessing, this ni'mah, the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen from us. This is a great ni'mah, a great blessing. Know the value of your parents who gave you this blessing, the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. There are millions who don't have this ni'mah. Know the value of this gift and try to share it with others. Those of you that have this blessing, share it with others. Speak to others. One day, Allah will open their hearts and open their eyes. It won't happen over a night. It won't happen within a week or a month. But over years, we've seen 2 years ago, I remember, didn't we celebrate those who accepted the wilayah of Imam Ali? I believe we celebrated 14 individuals. 14 individuals. It happened. It didn't happen overnight. But eventually they accepted. Why? Because they opened their eyes and their hearts to the wilayah, and Allah guided them. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. May Allah bless you all. May Allah accept our a'mal. May Allah keep us on the path of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. I've been asked to announce that Muharram Majalis will start on August 9th, inshallah, at 8 p.m. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
برای سلامتی حاج آقا سید حسین قزوینی یه صلوات محبت بفرمایید.